Hey, what's up, everyone? I was asked to speak more about the copyright portion of the business. They were breaking down the music copyright and how it splits into two sides, the master and the publishing. Because if you don't know both sides, you're getting played twice, all right? So basically, what's a copyright? A copyright is the legal ownership of the original work you created in music. That means what? The lyrics, the melody, the recording, the beat, the whole thing, all right? If you made it from scratch, original composition, all right? So copyright protects you. Well, copyright protects your work from the moment you record, write it down. You don't need the file for it, but if you're suing for infringement, want to protect your rights, you should file SR claim. Maybe there's other claims that you can make, but there's, on the sound recording side, there's an SR sheet that you can file with the Copyright Office, and you would proceed and file that, I guess, as early as possible to protect your rights in case somebody came down the line and infringed, which is often when you got, some work out there. I get calls about it all the time. So just look at it like this. If your song is the house, copyright is the deed. It says it's mine, I built it, I control it, control what happens, to it. So, all right, we're gonna get into the master portion of the copyright first, all right? Because there's two sides, like I said. There's the master and publishing. The master portion is the sound recording side, all right? So, the master copyright. This is an actual audio file, the finished product, all right? Whoever owns the master controls the recording of the work, used, sold, streamed, license-wise, what have you, right? Usually when you sign to a major label, usually when you sign to a major label, they're gonna claim the master and just give you points from the master. So if there's a pie and there's 8 slices or 100%, just let's say there's 100% of the pie, even though you did the composition and you might have paid studio time independently and stuff like that, but when you go to the major or go to some company independently that's going to invest in you, chances are they're going to ask for a majority share of the points and maybe give you, on a good day, you get 15 points. Independently, it could be structured different with an independent label, but if you're independent solely, then you control the master rights yourself, right? But on the master side, in my opinion, it's the ugly side, the ugliest side of the game, because there's marketing, video cost, promotional cost, studio time, things like that. All of that stuff is going to go inside the recoup on your master side when you hand in the master and you give them the audio and they have the rights, and they're basically going to say that they're going to be paying for all of these other things. You know what I'm saying? That's why they're only giving you 15%, 15 points or whatever, 12 points, 12%, whatever, because they're the ones that are investing in the product, right? So, I mean, I say it's the ugly side because, the more samples, and a lot of people sample a lot, but just the more money that's put out on it, the longer it's going to take to recoup. I mean, it could take, I got clients that took 20 years to recoup, all right? Albums that came out in the 90s and just recoup in 2020. I know somebody extra famous, probably sold about 70 million records or more through the Universal system. I think this person sold 5 million records each, twice in 1 year or something like that domestically. And that person's still unrecouped some millions of dollars, according to the royalty statement that's laying around here somewhere. That's a whole nother story. So it's just a whole game on that side. So I would recommend you go independent. But basically, yeah, that side has licensing. They're in charge of the licensing, for TV and film and what have you on that side. on the master side. They, so that's the other thing too. So just think, you get like, you might have $100,000 license on the master side, $200,000 license on the master side for some type of TV usage or something like that, and you only got 10 points. You know what I mean? So $200,000 license. Next thing you know, you're getting $20,000 over $200,000 license off of your work, and the record company's going to keep the other 180. You know what I'm saying? And charge. And if you recouped, then you get the 20,000. But if you're unrecouped, they'll just put it against what they were recouping off of you, and you get closer to recouping while they keep the 180. You know what I'm saying? So it's ugly on that side. So I would, like I said, I would try to negotiate the best that you can, or if you could, go independent and to TuneCore and try to get your popularity up, and this way you can negotiate a better situation against the major. I mean, I've seen some good structured deals before, but you got to raise your value up. You know what I mean? So it's just a game. You got to learn it. So I mean, I'll tell you what to do at the end of this thing. Well, what I do, to keep me on par with things. So now to the publishing copyright. This is the songwriting, the blueprint, the chords, the lyrics, the beat, the arrangement, the DNA of the track, owned by the writers unless signed away, right? Shared by producers, co-writers, and publishing companies, okay? So, for example, on the publishing side, you would receive streaming, physical product, mechanicals from like Spotify and Apple on the streaming side, and vinyl on the physical side, and things like that. That's kind of coming up again a little bit. And you would also receive synchronization, publishing from synchronization licensing, which come from film and TV, all right? So, I mean, maybe y'all don't really understand the whole thing of what I'm saying, so I'm going to just give like a light example, right, of how this would work, right? So, this is a client that I consult for the past somewhat years. Me and another guy who's working with them. And they get a lot of licensing. They've been probably licensed 200 times between documentaries, mostly in rap songs. Currently, right now, this composition is being used in the new Cardi B song called Outside, which is doing real well. So let me just give you an example, right? So this is a group called the Showboys and Profile Records. They were released in like 1985. They did a song called Drag Rap, aka Trigger Man, right? This song has like, this song probably uses like, there's probably like 5-6 different elements that are used into songs. Besides that, what you just heard, people sample the drums and a couple of other elements from this composition. So what had to happen, for example, is that Cardi B's label, Atlantic Records, had to reach out to their record company, right, which is Sony on the master side, on the sound recording side, Sony Music, and they had to reach out to the Showboys publisher, which is Universal Publishing, right? So they would have two different licenses, two different requests to license, right? One's going to Universal, one is going to Sony Music, like I said, and they're asking to use the elements of that song into the Cardi B record per se, right? And it would come with a certain amount of money. On the publisher side, there would be something called a sample quote, and they would ask for, would you accept 50% of the record per se, or something like that. On the sound recording side, they're negotiating a royalty, all right, on the sound recording side. So obviously both sides have been accepted, and these guys will receive, as the Cardi B record goes on, they will start receiving money into their ASCAP writer account and money into their ASCAP publisher account, right, which is collected by Universal Publishing on the publisher account. So Universal Publishing will be collecting money on behalf of their publishing, and the mechanicals, which is the sales and streaming and stuff like that, that would all be collected by Universal, right? And they would receive a royalty biannually off the Cardi B record. The ASCAP writer portion will go directly to them because it's under their government name. On the sound recording side, Sony would collect, you know, some money from negotiated sales, right? And whatever, they negotiated. And that would be split between Sony Records and the Showboys, depending on, the Showboys would receive whatever their point structure was from what they signed years ago. You know what I'm saying? So if they signed 10%, they would get 10% of whatever came in on the master side. If they signed for 50%, then they would get 50%, you know, per se. All right. So that's what goes on in that. So that's how the licenses work on the publishing end. All right. So next time you drop a song, ask yourself, do I own the music or am I just renting the room? All right. Copyright is the law, right? So understanding the two-part system, the masters and the publishing, can keep you from getting robbed, right? If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll break it down further in another video, right? Well, one more thing. They don't always get accepted, the license request. I had King Combs, Puffy's son, trying to use a DMX record, and we have like some rights on some producers that we help out some producers and stuff like that work with DMX. King Combs was trying to use a song of DMX's and interpolate it and put it into a new composition that he was doing maybe like 2-3 months ago. And all parties in the email were turning them down, all right? Universal Music Publishing, whoever, they were just turning them down. They didn't want him to use the record. I guess if his father wasn't in so much stuff, they would have let him use the record. But everybody was just going against him. I mean, he has nothing to do with anything, but they weren't letting him use the record. And they were emailing me, telling me not to approve it also. So, I mean, I guess it just goes like that. That's the first time I've ever been through that. But it's kind of spooky, but it can get like that. They can turn on you real quick, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so this is what you're going to need, right? After creating a full song and the lyrics, you got to own your masters until you sign a contract. It has to be negotiated before you sell it off, right? Pay attention to your paperwork. You gotta get a good lawyer, and you gotta kind of know the definition. I think I said this in other videos. You kind of gotta know the definition of a good lawyer, and it only comes from experience, I would say. Your friend telling you, oh, I use this lawyer, I mean, it's hit or miss. You know what I'm saying? It's really hit or miss, because that doesn't mean you're getting educated in the process. I mean, I've ran through so many lawyers that I pretty much know what a good lawyer is a little bit better than the average person, I would say. You know what I'm saying? That's just, once again, comes from experience. So, I think I'm done. Wait, I think I have one more thing. So people ask me what kind of books do I read about the music industry and the copyright and the publishing and blah, blah, blah. So I do have some books here, right? I've been reading a couple, and I haven't started reading on some others. Well, this is a book right here, A Plain and Simple Guide to Music Publishing, right? This is by Randall Wixon. He's pretty popular in the business. This is a 2024 edition of this book. This is the 5th edition, all right? So this book has been out for some years, but this is the 5th edition. The latest version will obviously keep you up with the changes in the music industry, so you need to keep up, with the language and the things that's going on. So this is the 2024 edition of this book by Randall Wixon. All right, so that's one book right here. Let's see what else I got here. I got, okay, here, this is probably the most famous book, right? All You Need to Know About the Music Business, right, by Donald Passman. This is a real popular book. I've been reading this book probably since the early 90s, I would say, or something like that, a little bit after high school. I've been reading this book, but this is the 11th edition of this book, right? I've read probably like 4 different versions or something like that. But this is the 11th edition of this book. This is a 2024 release. Once again, like the other book, you might want to keep up with the language. All right, so definitely consider this book right here by Donald Passman. And also, what I like to do, I like to get a book by somebody who's a straight publisher and another person, you know, like a lawyer's perspective, a publisher's perspective, a lawyer that's in the publishing business still, but has, you know, a lawyer's perspective of things. Here's another book right here. I didn't start reading yet, but this is a 2024 book by Toby Bennett, and it's called Corporate Life in the Digital Music Industry. All right, it's a short book. It's only maybe a couple hundred pages or something like that. But this is another book I'm gonna start reading after I finish up with the Randall Wixon one, right? And I don't know why I picked out this one. I mean, I've read this before, but this is Music Law in the Digital Age by Alan Barfried, right? So this is the 2nd edition, but I do have the 3rd edition. It's black. It's a black cover. The 3rd edition, the newest one, is a black cover. It's probably in my suitcase because when I travel, I'll bring these books along with me, you know, so I can read and stuff. But the newest one edition is a black covered one. It's the 3rd edition. All right, so I recommend you know, get books like this. And I also have a bunch of stuff on Audible that I read. Yeah, I watch videos by, you know, people, lawyers and other people, you know, that go on YouTube and talk, you know, about the publishing business and copyright business. Hey, so I'm actually getting my first speaking. I'll be speaking somewhere in Grand Rapids, Michigan about copyright and publishing. Copyright, actually, I don't know, sometime in like October or something like that. But I'll keep you all, you know, abreast of that when I know the exact dates. I just don't remember off the head, I think. But yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. And if you want some consultation, just hit me up. I'll be available for some consultation, but I charge a fee for consultation. And from there, just like, subscribe, share. I appreciate y'all giving me, you know, taking time to watch these videos. If I missed out on anything, once again, just drop them in the comments. All right, I'll check y'all later. Peace.